Triumph's Street Triple, it has set the benchmark for naked motorcycles because of its magical blend of easy everyday usability and proper sport bike manners. And with the RS, Triumph took things up to another level. But there's been a motorcycle that's been sitting silently waiting to take this one on, and it's been brought here by somebody who's not known for being silent.
I think Karthikeya Singh talks too much, but let's focus on the motorcycle. The Yamaha MT-09 has not been around for a while, but it's an absolute legend outside India. And it's a legend because it does a lot of things really well. But first, it's a street bike, you can see that. It's a high handlebar, low seat, lots of suspension travel, and that engine is just packed full of character, and more importantly, it's got so much grunt. In this war of triples, it's the Street Triple that's more powerful, but it's the long-stroke MT-09 that has more torque and displacement. And that's only the tip of this iceberg. Let me give you a little bit of wisdom about this engine. This is the older engine, at least in the sense that we've experienced more of it. It's 3 cylinders just like yours, but shorter stroke, bigger bore. It's more like a sports bike engine. And the most obvious thing when you ride together back to back is you're faster than me, but the MT is faster than the RS, at least initially. As soon as you open the throttle, it pulls away a little bit, and then the revs on the Triumph cross about 6,000, and then I start to reel you back in. It's such a different character.
Yeah, exactly. Like coming out of the hairpin onto the back straight, I would get the drive out of it, I'd zoom ahead, and then a little while later, you'd be catching up because the MT-09 in 5th gear does about 220 kilometers an hour. You shift up into 6th, expecting more drive, and it goes to 224. That's about 8. It's capped in terms of its revs, so it loses that. And the Street Triple is just blasting past. It's going over 230 kph if I'm not wrong, and you know, the way it delivers that little bit of extra punch at the top end also makes it that much more exciting on the track. Charging into and out of corners, the slipper clutches and quick shifters kept us in the groove. What I like also about this engine is that it's not just another inline 3, it's got that crossplane crank which kind of turns it into a little bit of a V. It has that pulse and you can feel it through the bars, and it builds kind of that rider connect, and even when you gas it, the sound it makes, it's got that aggression about it, that just, it's character, right?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference in feel is that bike's torque curve feels like it's convex. It's like it's bursting with torque. This bike's a little bit more linear, and I think linear bikes are very good to ride fast. It's easy for riders to use, but convex curves makes rider excited, and I think excitement is a big part of why I want to ride motorcycles.
The RS's performance is exciting too, but it makes you wait a bit. On the RS, it's all clean. It's only towards the top end that it just goes now. It gives you that little bit of a burst.
Yeah.
And that's why, sport bike format, I think that engine for track. Yes, the RS certainly has the edge when it comes to the track. Even in terms of equipment, it packs 4 rider modes, including a track mode and a lap timer. The MT-09 has 3 power modes and 2 levels of traction control. So, the MT is simpler.
It is, but when you think about it, like riding it on the street, this would be a little bit more work, and I think it will be a crucial little bit because the MT is just on. I mean, you can see it. You get on the throttle and it's just firing out of that corner. And the Triumph, you have to get your gear changes right, or you're 1,000 RPM off, and then it's like, I'm going to catch him, oh, there it is, and now we go after him. And if you want people's heads to follow you, and in terms of sound, I think that sounds better as stock. This thing's running an Arrow, and Triumphs are famous for that little whistling sound that they make. But with the Arrow, this sounds brilliant, as usual. But I'm not an exhaust guy. I would probably pick that sound over this one.
Same here. And I love the sound it makes, what you can hear as a rider. It's got this nice little growl about it. It's got a little bit of that aggression even in the sound. works for me.
Yeah, so this is a legend, and like I said right at the start, that bike has become such an important part of the motorcycle universe because it's just so full of character and grunt. That's exactly what that MT is about, and today riding it just even behind you, forget on it. Oh, it's such a thing to watch. The MT-09 is exciting, and all the more so because, well, it's a bit of a sleeper.
Now looking at the MT-09, I hadn't expected much from it out on the track, but it surprised. This is a motorcycle that likes to be slammed down into corners, it likes to be hustled, and it feels good doing that. You've got great leverage from the bars. Incredibly, the MT dips into corners faster than the RS. And that's despite the steering geometry being slower and the wheelbase being longer than the RS. A genuine surprise. It can switch directions, it can hold its line. The grip from the Bridgestone Battle Axe Hypersports was incredible, keeping you safe and steady, even when the MT started to feel a bit squirrely. Which brings us to... I've got to give a caveat here. It's not particularly, well, what should I say, polished? The suspension is fully adjustable, but it has long travel and is soft, keeping street use in mind. The story was a bit similar with the brakes as well. They've got strong bite, you will get the retardation that you want, but feels a bit jumpy. The MT-09 was surprisingly fast around the BIC. But more importantly, you go out on the track, you will enjoy pushing this bike and push it some more as well and enjoy all of it. But there's no two ways about it. The faster bike here is the Triumph. And here's why.
The Triumph Street Triple RS is a little bit different from the MT, and you can see it says really sophisticated, and that's like the real big difference. And where does that come from? Rocking suspension, because it has Ohlins at the back, Showas at the front, fully adjustable, and they're really well tuned. So even as stock, without doing anything, if you go for a small bump, even at the racetrack, you feel that plush smoothness of it. You start pushing it and it's right there on the ball all the time. The brakes similarly, they're Brembo's top M50s, huge power, lots of feel. The Triumph is precise and fluid, almost a bit clinical. Blame it on the top shelf hardware like the Pirelli Diablo Supercorsa SPs. All in all, on the RS, you can be quite silly while braking, cornering and gassing it, but you can be sure that the RS won't. So like Kartikeya said, the MT has all the bits in place, but there is a sense of a little bit of roughness around the edges. This is just like a polished, smooth stone. And normally when you think polished, you think there's no place to grip this, but actually this is a pretty gripping motorcycle. The only thing that sticks out is that these handlebars are street handlebars. They're actually quite wide. It's good for leverage, but it feels like a sport bike with a big handlebar, and there's a slight oddness about it. Or if you look at it from the other side, it works on the street really well as well. So the biggest difference between the MT and the RS is this is just such a polished motorcycle. It's just so beautiful. So the on-track battle between these middleweight nakeds hasn't gone as expected. But what of it? We, the motorcyclists, are better for it.
Okay, so the MT-09, it has really surprised us by its ability out on the track, where it has shown that it can keep up with the Street Triple RS. It has got the guts to really punch above what it would seem like. But there's no doubt about it. The RS is superb out on a racetrack. It remains easily the benchmark motorcycle as a naked that you could take out on track.
Absolutely. The sophistication and the level of effortless performance that this motorcycle gives you, it's still unbelievable. And when you start comparing the equipment that you get, the MT to the RS, there's just no doubt about it. This thing is absolutely fully loaded. And the Street Triple RS really has a lot of extra kit and has the edge in the sense of quality too, for which Triumph charges a reasonable Rs 60,000 premium over the Yamaha MT-09. And that brings me to the surprise, which is, why didn't Yamaha assemble this thing and get good pricing? Because this thing is something that would be in his garage, it would be in my garage, it would probably be in your garage if it was priced right. It's just a matter of pricing.
Right, the MT is about, I mean, they've cut a few corners, and it was to make it affordable, which hasn't translated to the Indian market. And we are still excited enough to want to take this out onto our roads in the real world and see if it lives up to our expectations in terms of that everyday easy usability, right?
Yeah, I would actually say, since I talk so much, I would like to change the name on that thing. That's not the MT-09, that's the RD-09. Really desirable.